These faces each tell an individual story. But look at my finger. Look at that. The nails aren't done.
Hiya, it's Emmy once again, and in this final major vlog, I'm going to be talking about the animation production and what I've done to basically create my final response slash final piece. And yeah, let's get into it. Yeah. Okay, so after I've completed all of the pre-production like drawings and illustrations and basically just setting out like the setting and the characters, I decided to do a bit of storyboarding revolving around the story. Editor Emmy here. I don't know what the frick I meant by saying creating a storyboard revolving around the story. That's kind of dumb. So I want you to just completely ignore that. Towards my classmates, the reason I did this is because one, I wanted to obtain some feedback based on the story that I have so far. And also when I did my primary research for this year's project, the responses I got were, let's just say, not that great. So I decided to basically print out a feedback sheet instead so I could shame the people who did not take it seriously. I did not do that. I just wanted honest to God responses, and I thought that if I just, have something physical, then people would more likely take it seriously. Later! After this elite strategic planning of mine, I created an initial storyboard on post-it notes. These were all just bases for the story, and they only mapped out the key scenes that I wanted to display in my final piece. Later on into my production, I do elaborate some scenes with supporting sketches, so please don't be alarmed if you think this is all I have for now, because I am cooking something up a little bit later. Afterwards, I made my pitch, which was created on Google Slides. On those slides, I explained my chosen theme and what I've learned about said theme, then creating a short summary of my narrative for my animation, which was supported with illustrations and concept art of the main characters with brief explanations on who they are and what they represent in the story. This was followed with storyboards afterwards, so the class could see what this would potentially look like in the future as a final piece. After the presentation, I simply asked the class to answer the questions on the feedback sheet, stating what they liked in the pitch, is there a way I could improve on my story, and if there was any art or animation techniques that they want to see in the final animation. The most interesting piece of feedback that I've gotten back was how I could focus on the girls' relationship more, to make it feel more emotionally impactful. This later inspired me to create an animatic to a song called MG1 by Machine Girl, which will act as a supporting second piece to my final animation for the project. I chose this song specifically because I really like the eerie sound of the instrumentals to the girl talking in the background, almost like she's talking about an old friend that she potentially lost. I also thought about how it sounded like she's looking back on a memory, and this reminded me of the two main characters. I was also inspired by my research that I've conducted from memory when I was figuring out what themes I wanted to choose from the very start of the project. I wanted the animatic to be based on Pandora's perspective and her looking back on the past when her and Stacy were together before she died. With now all of that out of the way, I can move on to sound design. I firstly needed dialogue of what the characters were going to say in the animation, so I created a Google Doc and I typed up the interactions and conversations that were going to appear in each scene. When creating the script, I made sure to include a brief explanation of their personalities as well as a description of their voices, so when I get the cast to voice the characters, they had a little sense of direction of what they were going to sound like when they were going to produce their lines. This was further supported with reference videos of already existing characters so that the direction was straightforward and easy for the actors. Now it's time to meet our main cast. No, when he walks into your room and he goes, "Ooga looga, ooga booga loo." What do you do?
I shy right back at him.
Do you want to be a voice actor in my animation?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to be a voice actor in my animation?
Sure.
Okay.
That's why there's so many faces.
To sort out the audio recordings, my friends were able to record their lines at home and send the files over to me on Soundtrap. Originally, I was going to use Soundtrap as my main software to create my sound design for my project, but unfortunately the site kept crashing for me and I wasn't able to use it in the end. As an end result, I had no choice but to use CapCut, as I was already familiar with the app and it was easy to use and navigate around. The app included pre-made sounds already, so I was able to just search up the desired sound effect that I wanted and just import it onto my audio timeline. I did, however, use Soundtrap to make some original music for this project, as a lot of my work were very influenced by sound and music, and I even did research for it this year. So I tried making my own music instead and just experimenting around with different sounds that I like. I ended up making 3 songs in the end, but only using 2 soundtracks within the final animation. Okay, I guess it's time to get into the actual point of the video, which is making the animation. The program that I used is called ToonSquid, and I animated everything on my iPad. When it came to storyboards, to doing the animation, to the final editing, everything was done on my iPad. The reason I chose ToonSquid as my software of choice is because I heard online that it is quite a good and accessible program to use when it came to making 2D animation, and it even included bones and rigs so you could tween as well. Another pull factor that made me want to use this program is that it had a backup feature built into the app, and it would constantly remind me to use it. This was great for me as this meant none of my animation would be lost. I officially began animating on the 24th of March, and initially I was going to animate everything onto one file. But because the audio was around like 3-4 minutes long, this meant I had like 1,000 frames to deal with. At first I thought this wouldn't be a problem, but then I wanted to work on different scenes at different times, and I would have to constantly scroll through the timeline and everything would just get messed up. To resolve this issue, I basically made different files and I named them after what scene I was going to work on based on my storyboards. And this gave me a lot more flexibility as I was able to jump between different scenes and work on them on different days. Not only was this easier for me, but this also felt a lot less intimidating as my animation was concluded to be around more than 2,000 frames in total, which motivated me a lot more. For the art direction, I decided to approach this animation in a unique way by using different types of styles and techniques within my final piece. This was mainly influenced from previous research about how boundaries were depicted in art through time, as well as my additional research for Mob Psycho 100. I also still wanted to include my own developing style through an animated medium, and my art style is quite experimental, and I enjoy using different overlays, different effects over my illustrations, so I wanted to reflect that within my final piece. I also thought about how my target audience is catered towards young creatives, so having something that's visually unique towards the target audience would keep them hooked and maybe even inspire them to approach illustration and animation differently. This approach was also influenced by my Machine Girl 1 animatic, where the visual direction was that I wanted it to look like it was scribbled on a notepad, like a notebook in school. So that's why I was experimenting with a lot of different paper textures on top of the characters and environments in my final animation. When there were times I was struggling to animate certain movements, I would record myself or my friends to use as a reference, and I would look back at the key poses. When it came to lip sync, I would use a tiny mirror and I would mouth the words the characters were saying and copy it onto my final piece. Here is a tiny montage of the references that I use for certain scenes. Okay, so basically, yeah, just like you just got home from college and you dropped your bag off.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, that's some of the primary sources that I used as a reference for my final animation. And this concludes this lovely video. Thank you for watching my vlogs, and I hope you enjoy the final animations that I've made because they took so long. Yeah, this is the outro. Bye.
I gave Emerald Jade Greenball a haircut and it's gone. She got a haircut and her hair's gone. Where did her hair go? In the vacuum cleaner.